Okay, so imagine this for a second. You're sitting around a campfire. It's late. The fire's crackling, sending those little sparks up into the night sky. And beyond that little circle of light, it's just pitch black.
Right. That kind of primal feeling where the woods are right there.
Exactly. The woods are out there. You can hear the wind, maybe the twig snaps, but you can only see what the fire shows you. Everything else is just shadow.
It's the known and the unknown right next to each other.
Precisely. Now, what if someone walks up, taps you on the shoulder, and hands you a pair of, super high-tech night vision goggles?
Oh, okay.
Put them on, and boom.
Yeah.
Suddenly, that darkness, it's not empty anymore. It is teeming. It's busy. It's electric.
You're seeing the heat signatures, the energy.
All of it. The animals, the wind, the energy of the force itself.
I have a feeling we're about to put on those goggles.
We absolutely are. Welcome back to the Deep Dives. Today, we're not just looking at the woods. We're looking at the very fabric of reality itself.
Stripping away the camouflage.
We're talking dreams that never stop, whether that might actually be reading your mind, and psychic cats.
Can't forget the psychic cats.
With very specific dietary restrictions. And we have a mysterious, large, fat man who might just prove telepathy is real.
It's quite the mix today. It sounds like a really chaotic list of ingredients.
It does.
But I promise they all kind of bake into the same very weird pie.
They really do. But before we light this metaphorical fire and, put on the goggles, I have to do our standard disclaimer.
Right, the official part.
This podcast is distributed completely free of charge on all the major platforms, and it's for educational purposes. We're here to explore, to learn, maybe get a little spooked in a fun way.
But we're not here to tell you what to believe. We're just looking very, very closely at the documents in front of us.
Exactly. And we should probably clarify what those documents are.
Yeah, for sure. We are diving back into the Seth material. Specifically, we're cracking open the early sessions book 4, and we are zooming right in on session 196.
Which was recorded on October 6, 1965.
1965. You really have to get that in your head. Let's set the scene. This isn't some university lab with, sterile controlled environments.
No internet, no smartphones.
Nothing. We're in Elmira, New York, a quiet upstate town.
And it's so domestic. You have Jane Butts, a writer, who goes into a trance state to speak for this. Personality essence, Seth.
And then her husband, Rob Butts, who Seth calls Joseph, is just sitting there, probably with a beer or a coffee.
Furiously sketching and taking notes in shorthand.
It's just the two of them in their living room, basically experimenting with the unknown while, the rest of the neighborhood's asleep.
And what I love about this session, about 196, is how it just swings wildly from this high-level, almost quantum physics.
Before that was even a thing most people talked about.
Right. It swings from that all the way to this really domestic drama that involves, of all things, cat food.
It totally grounds the material, doesn't it?
It does.
It shows that this, cosmic wisdom isn't just about the structure of the universe. It's also about why your pet is throwing up on the rug.
Which is a question I think every pet owner has asked the universe at least once.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, let's unpack this thing. The session starts with a bang. Seth dives straight into what he calls electromagnetic systems.
And this is really the core of his whole argument in this session. He's basically saying that everything we experience, everything. Physical matter, a chair, a tree.
This microphone.
Right. But also our thoughts, our dreams, it's all built on the same foundation.
It's all electromagnetic.
It's all electromagnetic.
He says, and I think we should quote this to get it right, he says, "No physical matter is without this electromagnetic reality, and no thought exists which does not exist within this reality."
That is a massive statement. Think about that. It just collapses the dualism we live by.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we usually think, okay, here's the physical world, the real stuff I can kick, and then way over here is the mental world, the imaginary stuff in my head.
Two separate categories.
Right. And Seth is saying, no, it's the same stuff.
It's like saying the code that runs your web browser is made of the same material as the laptop itself.
That is a perfect analogy. It's all just data. It's all energy. And then he takes it a step further with this really fascinating connection to the weather.
This part is wild.
He says these electromagnetic systems are affected by the weather, but, and here's the kicker, they also affect the weather.
So it's a two-way street.
A constant inflow and outflow.
Okay, let's pause there for a second because that's a big claim. We know weather affects us. If it's gray and raining for 3 weeks, I get sad.
Sure, seasonal affective disorder. That's accepted science.
Right, but Seth is implying the reverse, that my mood can affect the weather.
He is. He's suggesting a feedback loop. He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, the weather affects these systems, and in turn, the systems affect the weather.
So if my thoughts are these little electromagnetic realities, and the weather is this big electromagnetic reality, you're telling me my bad mood could, like, cause a thunderstorm?
In a manner of speaking, according to Seth, yes. Now, he's not saying your specific bad mood is going to instantly summon a tornado over your house like a cartoon.
Right, right.
But he is saying that the collective electromagnetic output of consciousness of all of us, it interacts with the atmosphere. We think of weather as this external thing that happens to us.
Oh, it's raining. I guess I'll be sad.
Exactly. Seth is flipping that. The storm outside and the storm inside, they're part of the same system.
That gives a whole new meaning to brainstorming. That was a terrible pun.
I know, I'm sorry, I had to.
But it's accurate, in a way.
But seriously, though, it just dissolves that barrier between me and out there. If we're all part of this electric web, we aren't isolated little bubbles.
We're porous.
Yeah.
And that leads him directly into his next point, which is about dreams.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I found genuinely chilling in a cool way.
Me too. He just states it so matter-of-factly we never stop dreaming.
I put a huge exclamation point next to that in my notes. He says, dreams exist even for an individual in the waking state. His mind continues this activity even while the conscious self goes about its daily chores.
Just think about that for a second. Right now, while you're listening to us, while you're driving your car or washing the dishes, there's a part of you that is fully immersed in a dreamscape.
And you just don't notice it.
You don't notice it.
So why not? Why don't we see it?
Because your conscious ego is just too loud. It's too focused.
It's like having a flashlight in a dark room.
Yeah.
The beam is your waking mind. It's focused on the task, driving the car, writing the email.
Right.
But the rest of the room didn't vanish just because the light isn't on it. The dream is the rest of the room.
Or, to use a more modern analogy, it's like your computer. You have the active window open. That's your waking life. That's the spreadsheet you're working on.
Okay.
But in the background, your operating system is running diagnostics. It's updating files. It's processing data, maybe downloading something huge.
That's the inner self, dreaming.
It never shuts down. If it did, the whole computer would crash.
And Seth says this isn't just random noise either. This background dreaming is, quote, vital to the human system. He says it has a pulsing quality, like a heartbeat.
That image of a dream heartbeat is beautiful, isn't it? It suggests that dreaming is the life support system for our consciousness.
If that pulse stopped,
The physical self couldn't function. We literally draw energy from that other side of reality.
he also connects this to inspiration. You know those moments when you're just staring out a window, totally zoned out, and then, bam, you suddenly get a great idea.
Yeah, the classic eureka moment in the shower or whatever.
Seth says that isn't magic. He says it's leakage.
Leakage. I like that.
Yeah. That's the background dream activity spilling over into the active window. You think, wow, I just had a brilliant idea out of nowhere.
And Seth would say, no, you've been working on that in the dream state for hours. You just finally relaxed enough to let the barrier down and notice it.
That makes me feel so much better about staring out the window and daydreaming.
Me too. I'm not slacking off. I'm accessing the mainframe.
You're calibrating your electromagnetic system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that next time I'm at a deadline. Sorry, I was calibrating.
Now, this brings up a big question. If we're all broadcasting on this electric web, and we're all dreaming constantly, and our thoughts are actual things, how do we connect with other people?
Right. Why do I become friends with you, but I can't stand that guy in accounting?
Yeah.
Well, Seth has an answer for that too, and it ties right back into the physics. He talks about electric codes.
Electric codes.
He says any experience at all is held in a sort of electric code within the cells.
So our memories aren't just like little filing cards in our brains. They're magnetic signatures in our actual bodies.
That's the idea. And what does magnetism do? It attracts. Seth says we are literally drawn to people who have similar codes.
So it's not a metaphor. It's a literal attraction.
He says, on a subconscious basis, the individual is drawn to others who have had similar experiences, like magnets snapping together.
So when I walk into a party, I'm basically scanning the room with this invisible radar.
And everyone else is scanning you right back.
And when I lock eyes with someone and we just click, it's because our electric codes are, like, humming on the same frequency.
Or, on the flip side, why you might have an instant gut-level aversion to someone, your codes are clashing.
So that's what telepathy really is. It's not reading minds like a book.
It's reading the energy signature, the vibe.
That explains so much about social dynamics. It's not just about shared interests. You can have the exact same hobbies as someone. You both love, I don't know, antique spoons, but you just can't stand being around them.
Because the resonance isn't there. The codes don't match.
Which also explains why you can't lie to your dog. But we'll get to the animals in a minute. I want to talk about the bouncer first.
Ah, yes. The ego.
Yeah. Seth paints the ego in a really interesting light here. He calls it a rigid limiting function.
He does. He says the ego was basically set up to cut things apart, to create boundaries and separation.
Which sounds kind of negative, doesn't it? Limiting. We're always taught to be limitless.
It can be negative if it gets too rigid, for sure. But think about it from a survival perspective.
Okay.
If you were fully aware of that constant dream state and the weather's influence and everyone else's electric codes and the history of every single object you touched,
You'd be a mess. You'd be totally overwhelmed.
you couldn't function. You couldn't cross the street without getting distracted by the cosmic implications of the asphalt.
So the ego is the bouncer at the nightclub of your consciousness.
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
He's standing at the door saying, okay, you, grocery list, you can come in. You, cosmic realization of unity, you stay out, you're too weird. You, what's for dinner, you're good.
That's it, exactly. The ego creates this safe, manageable space for us to be individuals. It lets us pretend we're separate so
Right.
we can learn how to manage ourselves in this reality.
But he also says it can't learn, right? It can evolve.
It doesn't have to be such a strict bouncer forever. It can start letting some of the cool, weird stuff in from time to time.
Like, for example, the fact that your cat is psychic.
Yes, like the psychic cat.
Let's shift gears to the domestic side of Session 196. Because as deep and cosmic as this all gets, Seth is also apparently a veterinary nutritionist.
The transition in the original transcript is hilarious. You have to picture it. They take a break. Jane snaps out of the trance, has a cigarette or whatever.
Right, they chat for a bit.
Then she goes back under, the voice changes, and Seth just says, "Now, we shall speak briefly concerning the health of your cat."
This is Willie the cat.
Willie the cat.
So what's the diagnosis from Dr. Seth?
It's surprisingly specific. He says there's a particular kind of food that Willie loves, but it makes him sick. And he says that Rob and Jane, or Rupert, which is Seth's name for Jane, they already suspect what it is.
And it turns out it's a combo of liver and fish.
Which I imagine sounds delicious if you're a cat.
Right, but it just doesn't agree with them. But that's just biology. You can figure that out with a vet visit. The next part is where it gets into our territory.
Right. Seth says the food isn't the only problem.
Not at all.
He says the pet also sensed Rupert's own upset when he was worried, and this also contributed.
And Jane was stressed out, wasn't she, about her book publisher?
Yeah, she was waiting to hear back on her book about ESP, so she was anxious, she was tense, she was just, vibrating with that stress.
And Willie the cat just soaked it all up.
He absorbed that anxiety, and it physically manifested as illness. He was literally getting sick from her stress.
That's heavy.
It brings us right back to that electromagnetic system we started with. Jane's anxiety wasn't just in her head. It was a broadcast. It was a stormy weather pattern inside their living room.
And Willie being a smaller, more open system.
Exactly. Animals don't have that rigid bouncer ego that we do. He just got caught in the rain.
It makes you wonder. You come home from work angry, just fuming, and your dog hides under the sofa.
Or your cat knocks over a vase.
Right. Are they just being bad, or are they reacting to your electric code? To your storm?
Seth would argue they're mirroring you. We think our emotions are private, contained inside our skulls. Seth is saying no, they're environmental hazards for the people and animals around us.
I'm going to have to go home and apologize to my goldfish.
You probably should.
But Seth isn't just diagnosing the cat. He also plays life coach for Rob.
For Joseph, as he calls him.
Right. Apparently Rob gets the December doldrums.
Seasonal depression. Which, is a very common thing, especially in upstate New York where the winters are long and gray.
For sure. And Seth, just sort of looking at the energy lines, he predicts that Rob is going to escape them this year. He says the change of seasons will exhilarate him.
It's so charming, isn't it? Here's this disembodied consciousness discussing the fundamental nature of reality, but he takes a moment to say, hey, don't worry, man, you're going to have a good Christmas this year.
It just reinforces that idea that the spiritual and the practical are not separate things. Your mood, your cat's health, your creative work.
It's all part of the same flow, the
Yeah.
same system. And it really sets the stage perfectly for what comes next, because up until this point, we're dealing with theory. It's fascinating theory, but it's still theory.
And Seth knows that Rob Specifically, he needs more than just nice words. Rob's an artist, but he's also kind of a skeptic.
He likes proof. He likes data.
So it's time to talk about the experiments.
The proof is in the pudding section.
Exactly. So in this session, Rob sets up something called an envelope test.
Can you explain how that works for anyone who might not be familiar with these kinds of parapsychology tests?
Sure. So Rob finds an object. He puts it in a sealed envelope, so Jane has absolutely no idea what it is. She goes into a trance, holds the envelope, and then Seth describes what he sees or feels from the object.
It's a classic psychometry test, reading the history of an object just by touching it.
And the object this time is, it's so mundane. It's a piece of an old ladle from the back of a bureau.
Just a scrap of paper.
Yeah, brittle, brown, peeled off this old piece of furniture they found in a garage somewhere.
Not exactly a glamorous object, no diamond rings or, ancient artifacts. Just trash, really.
Not at all. But Seth starts getting hits almost immediately. He sees a foundation. He sees diamond shapes. And then he says something weird. He sees a departure having to do with an automobile and a connection to a place with much water.
And this is where that web of connections we talked about gets really sticky and interesting.
Right, because here's a place with much water, and his mind immediately jumps to a photo he took in Marathon, Florida, in the Florida Keys.
Now, a normal skeptic would immediately say, haha, Jane is just reading Rob's mind. Rob thought of Florida, so Seth said Florida.
That's the classic dismissal, right? Simple telepathy.
But Seth actually interrupts that line of thinking. He clarifies. He says that Rob picked up the Florida connection from the object, and that led him to think of his photograph. The connection was in the bureau first.
And the backstory explains why. Seth says the bureau originally belonged to a woman who left town.
Departure by automobile.
Right. And she moved to Florida.
So the electric code of that woman, her journey, her destination, was somehow stamped onto that dusty old label.
That's the implication. The objects hold memories. The label was a link to the woman is linked to Florida, and Rob subconsciously picks up on Florida from the label. It's like a chain reaction of information.
That's a great way to put it. The object is like a hyperlink. You click it, and it takes you to the website of its own history.
And it shows that time isn't really linear in this framework. The past of that object is accessible right now in the present.
If you have the night vision goggles on.
If you have the goggles on, then they move on to the next experiment, the Dr. In-Stream visualization.
This is a remote viewing experiment. Dr. In-Stream is a real person, an academic they knew at Elmira College.
And Seth tries to see what he's doing at that exact moment. And the image Seth paints is it is so 1965.
Oh, it really is. It sounds like a scene straight out of Mad Men.
Totally. He sees a faculty affair going on, a woman in a yellow dress, a clock on the wall says 4 p.m., and Dr. In-Stream is just standing there holding a glass of liquor, smiling.
Seth even quotes him. He hears him say, "There are large areas in which improvement can be made."
That is the most academic, passive-aggressive sentence I have ever heard in my life.
And someone apparently replies, "I'll go along with you on that, George."
It's so mundane, right? It's not the world is ending. It's not some huge dramatic revelation.
It's just guys drinking scotch and talking shop.
But that mundanity, that's what makes it feel more real. If you were making this up, wouldn't you make it more dramatic?
You probably would. But real remote viewing often just captures these little slice of life moments. It's just data, raw data streaming in.
But the real showstopper, the part that made me literally laugh out loud and then get shivers at the same time,
Yeah.
it isn't even in the main session.
No, it's in the notes.
It's in the report Rob wrote 2 days later, October 8th, 1965.
Ah, yes, the newspaper ad experiment. This is the bonus round.
So here's the setup. Their friend, Bill Gallagher, is visiting. He works at the local paper, the Star-Gazette. He has to run an errand to the office at 10 o'clock at night to drop off an ad. And get this, he doesn't even know what the ad is. It's in a sealed envelope.
So it's a double-blind test, completely by accident. Bill doesn't know, Jane doesn't. Yeah.
So Bill leaves, and Jane and Rob decide, hey, let's just see if we can, remote view where he is and what he's doing.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Totally relaxed, no pressure.
And that's the key, isn't it? That relaxed, playful vibe.
Absolutely. Seth emphasizes that constantly. Trying too hard blocks the signal. You have to be playful. If the ego art bouncer thinks it's serious work, he tightens security.
But if he thinks it's just a game,
He looks the other way and lets the weird stuff through.
So Jane starts writing down her impressions. And some of them are just terrifyingly accurate. She writes down, sudden turn.
And Bill later confirms that when he entered the building, he made a sharp, unexpected turn to go upstairs, which he usually didn't do.
She writes down, tension.
And he ran into a boss, a Mr. Connor, who he really disliked. He said he was very tense.
She writes, seasons, sunny climes.
Bill was literally discussing a vacation to Puerto Rico with one of his colleagues at that moment.
It's amazing. But then you get the specific word hit. Jane writes down the letters. C-I-G. SIG.
This one is fascinating because Bill confirms they were discussing the SIG of the ad, S-I-G, which is short for signature.
But they never say the full word, they just say SIG.
Exactly. So Jane heard the sound phonetically SIG and just wrote down what she heard.
She heard the internal jargon of the ad department from across town.
It wasn't a visual match, it was an auditory one, which is just wow.
Rob gets the visual. And this is where it gets funny.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Rob goes into a light trance and he just writes down, handled by a large fat man.
You cannot make this stuff up.
He didn't write heavy man or portly gentleman. He wrote large fat man. All caps, I think.
What did Bill say?
And Bill confirms that the stereotyper at the paper, the guy who was physically handling the ad plates, was a man named Murphy, who was described as a large, rotund, fat man.
That is a 100% direct hit. It's undeniable.
Can you imagine being that guy? You're just doing your job, making printing plates for tomorrow's paper. And across town, some guy in a trance is writing large fat man.
It's the specificity that sells it. It's so blunt.
And Rob got other stuff too. He saw the ad was between 2 layers of cardboard.
Yeah.
Correct. He saw a 4-column layout for the ad.
And that one was interesting because Bill had originally considered a 4-column layout before he switched it to 5 columns at the last minute.
So Rob picked up the intent, the initial thought, not just the final physical reality.
Which goes right back to the beginning. Thoughts are electromagnetic realities. The thought of 4 columns existed in the ether, and Rob just tuned into that frequency.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, they were just hanging out, maybe having a beer, just guessing what their friend was up to. And they essentially tapped into a closed-circuit camera feed of the Star-Gazette newspaper office.
And look at the success rate. Jane got something like 11 distinct hits. Rob got 3 or 4 incredibly specific ones. This wasn't a vague horoscope reading.
No, this is data transfer.
It really was.
So, okay, let's zoom out. What does this all tell us? We've got the theory, the whole electric web. We've got the application, the psychic cat. And we've got the proof, large fat man.
What's the big picture?
Yeah, what's the big picture here?
I think the big picture is that we are significantly more connected than we ever allow ourselves to realize. We walk around thinking we're these private, separate individuals, hidden inside our heads.
Right.
But this material suggests we are constantly broadcasting and receiving. We're weather systems. We are dreaming all the time. We are affecting our pets, our friends, the objects we touch.
It makes the world feel, I don't know, softer, more permeable.
And also more responsible. If my anxiety can make my cat sick, then I have a real responsibility to manage my own energy. If my thoughts exist as real things, I should probably be more careful about what I think.
That's true. But it's also really empowering. If I can, in theory, tune into a large fat man across town, what else can I tune into? What solutions, what ideas, what connections are just out there waiting for me to relax the bouncer at the door and let them in?
That really is the ultimate promise of the Seth material. That we have access to a much, much wider reality if we just learn how to listen.
I love that.
Yeah.
Learn how to listen. And speaking of learning, if this deep dive has sparked something in you listening, if your electric code is buzzing right now, you really need to go to the source.
Oh, for sure. We are just skimming the surface of one session, session 196. There are hundreds of these. The depth of this material is just staggering.
And we want to give full credit where it's due. To the Seth material and to the publisher, New Awareness Network, they're the ones keeping all these archives alive and available.
So if you want to read the actual transcripts, see all the notes, see Rob's own drawings of the large fat man, you need to visit their website.
Yeah, go to sethcenter.com/the-early-sessions. That's sethcenter.com, all one word, /the-early-sessions.
Buy the books, support the work. It is a rabbit hole that is absolutely worth falling down.
It really is. It's the kind of reading that just changes how you look at a table or a cat or a thunderstorm.
Everything.
We've covered a lot today, from the electromagnetic nature of your soul to the dietary needs of Willie the cat. It's been a journey.
It always is with Seth.
So I want to leave you with one final thought, a little provocation for your drive home or your next meeting or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Seth says your waking life is just as much a construction as your dreams are. He says you are dreaming right now You just don't realize it.
So the question is,
when you turn off this podcast, are you waking up or are you just changing the channel?
That is something to think about.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next stream.